Hello my beautiful friends and welcome back to another video. Today I am very excited to be sharing a week of seasonal vegan eating with you. Over the past few months I have been very inspired by Immy from Sustainably Vegan and her content on social media, and I honestly always feel better, more inspired and more relaxed after watching her videos. Today I'm also very excited to be collaborating with her, and we are pleased to each be sharing a week of seasonal eating from opposite sides of the world. Hello and welcome to a week of seasonal eating here on the Gold Coast in Australia. So it is the end of summer here on the east coast of Australia, which is where I am in the state of Queensland. Now in North Queensland it is a very tropical climate, but where I live down in the southeast of Queensland it is more of a subtropical climate where it's not as humid, but it is still quite humid, just not as bad as it can get further up north. So as you can probably imagine, in the summertime my body tends to call for more fresh foods that perhaps take less time to prepare, and I definitely don't crave things like soups and ramens and things like that I tend to eat a lot in the winter time. So I am very new to the world of seasonal eating, but it's something that I am very much so enjoying exploring. I'm going to leave a link to the resource that I found helpful with what's in season in my part of the world / Australia. If you're from a similar area to me, you might find it helpful, so I'll leave it linked down below, or perhaps if you're just curious to check it out. But for now, let's get into what I eat in a week as a vegan who is learning to eat seasonally. So my week started very simply, just with some cacao and coconut granola that I'd found in the pantry, topped with some banana, which is in season right now, as well as some plum, because stone fruits are very in season. I'm very much so enjoying it. Topped that with some oat milk, and that was a very simple breakfast. And then for lunch I was inspired because I had this almond feta that I'd purchased from a local cafe, and it is super delicious, house made by the cafe, which we love. And I also really just enjoy a salad sandwich in the warmer months because it's such a simple meal to make, like literally whether it's for breakfast, lunch or for dinner, but it is also very nourishing and fresh and all of that good stuff, and requires less time in the kitchen. So I had this sandwich with some almond feta, some greens, tomato, cucumber, alfalfa and some avocado, and honestly it hit the spot. It might be my favorite meal from the entire week, and it's simply just a sandwich. Then when it came to dinner, I was having a bit of a late dinner this night. I started with some brown onion, which I finely diced. Then I put this into my frying pan with some oil and fried it up till it was slightly translucent. Then I added in some vegan butter because we are going to make like a creamy pasta sauce with some soy milk as well as some nutritional yeast. I also added in some veggie stock powder for some extra flavor, and I mix this together until it starts to get nice and thick. You can also add in some flour if you'd like to, because flour can often make the pasta sauce thicken a lot quicker. Just make sure to remove those lumps because they are not fun. Trust me on that. When it came to some veggies, I had some green beans as well as some cherry tomatoes in this one. Beans are very much so in season here at the moment, and I'm really embracing eating them a lot. They actually remind me, as well as cherry tomatoes, of my pop, who used to grow fruits and veggies in his garden when I was young, which was really fun. And yeah, I very much so enjoyed this creamy pasta with the added veggies, which make me feel very good. So whilst it is summer on the Gold Coast right now, it is raining, and it actually tends to rain quite a lot during the summer months here. Arguably, sometimes it rains more in the warmer months than it does in the cooler months, because the Gold Coast, which is on the east coast of Australia where I live, is a subtropical climate. So it gets super humid and super warm, and it honestly doesn't get very cool in the winter at all. I would say in the winter, probably like the lowest temperature we have during the day a lot of the time is like 17 or 18 degrees Celsius. If it gets colder than that, Gold Coasters can be a bit dramatic and think it's like the coldest day on the planet ever. Anyway, it's really funny because when it is rainy and gloomy, even though it is super hot outside still, it still makes me feel like having like hot chocolates and eating all of those winter like foods, if that makes sense. But then I'm like also so hot, so I don't want to do that. Anyway, that's just a little bit about the climate. Let's get into the kitchen and make some breakfast. Okay, so for breakfast this morning, I'm starting with some avocado and I am going to slice this up. People sometimes think it's funny the way I slice my avocado like this, but it just works very exceptionally well. And also I worked in a cafe for a while and that's how we did it there, so that's how I now do it too. I also sliced some red onion, and then I got this fresh Turkish roll from my local fruit and veg store, and I placed on some greens as well as the avocado and the red onion. My boyfriend had also left some of his famous tofu scramble at my house, and so I piled that on top and I had this really delicious filling tofu scramble breakfast sandwich. Then when it came to lunchtime, I got some snow peas, which, oh my goodness, I just feel like snow peas are so underrated, or at least like I've been underrating them for so long. I decided to make a snow pea and mango salad for some freshness after such a big breakfast that honestly kept me full for so long. So I cut up some snow peas, some red onion, as well as some mango, and then I put some greens into a bowl with said snow peas, red onion, and mango. And then in here as well, as just like a super light simple dressing, I just add in the juice of some lemon as well as a little bit of olive oil and some white wine vinegar, and I toss it together. Super simple, and also a really fun side salad if you're having like a barbecue in the summer months or anything like that. When it came to dinner, I decided to get some carrots, which I don't feel like, again, I cook with carrots as much, and this is something I've been really enjoying about trying to eat more seasonally, is the fact that it's encouraging me to eat a lot of things that I don't typically reach for. So I got some carrots and then I halved them and put them with some olive oil and some veggie stock, and then put them in the oven for probably like 30 minutes until they started to get nice and golden. And then to serve this, I had it with some couscous, which is one of my favorite things to have as like the base of a meal, as well as some greens, those carrots, and some of that almond feta. Really, really simple meal and very, very delicious. So for breakfast on Wednesday morning, I decided that I wanted to take the time to make some hash browns, which are one of those things that I feel like can be really tedious, but it is always worth it, having like your own potato hash or anything like that. And today I also decided to use some leek to put in, because I discovered that leek was in season here, and I love leek very much, and once again I don't cook with it enough. So I made some like potato and leek hash brown things with some flour and some veggie stock and salt and pepper, and I mixed this all together. Definitely more of a time consuming thing, but yeah, definitely worth it if you ever have the time on your hands to try making like your own fritters or hash browns or anything like that. I definitely recommend it. It's one of those things that you make and then you can like feel the love in the food when you're eating it, if that makes sense. So I fried these up and then I just served them with some avocado as well as some coconut yogurt that I had left in the fridge, and then some sprouts on top, and that was my breakfast. I was going to say a simple breakfast, but it definitely wasn't simple because it took a little while, but it was delicious. It tasted really, really good, which we love to see. Then when it came to lunchtime, I decided that I was feeling like some fresh kind of Mexican food, which honestly lately all I'm craving is like corn chips, salsa, and guac constantly with this warm weather. Like, it seems to be the only thing that I'm wanting all the time. I don't know if anyone else feels this in like the warmer months where you live, but I am always feeling like fresh Mexican food. Anyway, I'm tangenting. I basically put some tomato and red onion and some fresh corn into a bowl with a little bit of olive oil, salt, and some pepper, and I tossed this together to make like a fresh corn salsa kind of situation. Then into a pan I just put some black beans with some smoked paprika, chili flakes, garlic powder, onion powder, and I mix this together as our bean mix for this like nacho situation that is honestly like just a very, very simple nachos that I really enjoy making. I also made some guac to go with it, just with some avocado. I also then added in some lemon juice, which I like. You can use lime juice if you want to. And then I also added in some salt and some pepper. This is kind of like not a full guac situation, I understand, because guac can often have a lot of other things in it, but this is just what I tend to do when I'm wanting something simple like this. So then into a bowl I put some corn chips as well as that black bean mix, the corn salsa, and some guacamole on top, and this was like literally a 10-minute lunch that was so good and delicious. Now, one of my favorite things about the summertime is sharing food. I feel like I often share a lot more food and cook for friends and have friends cook for me more in the summer months, which I feel like maybe I'm being a bit woohoo, but it feels like a part of seasonal eating is sharing food with friends. So I really enjoyed having tacos with my friends. This Wednesday night my friend made these amazing cauliflower tacos for us. They were so good. Now, before we get into Thursday, a moment for Immy from Sustainably Vegan. As mentioned, she's sharing a week of seasonal eating over on her channel, and if you have never watched her content before, you definitely need to do so. She is very inspiring, honestly has inspired me in many ways, and her content is absolutely gorgeous. I feel really relaxed after watching it. Of course, I feel inspired to create positive change in my life, and she just knows a lot about a lot is what I have found. I feel like I am learning in a really calming way is the best way to describe it, and I also appreciate the way that she enjoys food and loves food and enjoys cooking from scratch as well, which is one of the biggest ways that I've been inspired by her. So I'm going to leave her channel and that week of seasonal eating link down below if you would like to check it out. I highly recommend. She's genuinely one of my favorites. I think you're really going to enjoy her videos. On Thursday morning, I decided to whip out the Vitamix and make myself a smoothie. So I had some frozen bananas, which I keep stored in the freezer at most times, as well as some fresh strawberries, which are in season, some plant-based milk, coconut yogurt, and some protein powder. And I just blended this all together. I really don't have smoothies as much as I used to. I really used to have smoothies like nearly every single day of my life, whereas lately I don't tend to crave them as much, but I've been really enjoying them like once or twice a week at the moment as a way to just have a simple breakfast that's a little bit different. I also put some passion fruit in the bottom of this because passion fruit is in season here right now, and I love passion fruit so much. It's definitely like god tier fruits. So yeah, very much so enjoyed this smoothie. I love having a little kombucha or a soda whilst I'm cooking lunch a lot of the time, and I got this one from my local coffee shop this morning, and it's actually one of the best kombuchas I've had in a really long time. Super yummy and really flavorful, which I love. So I started by cutting up some potatoes for lunch because I've been really enjoying cooking and like making roasted potatoes, but then having them with a lot of fresh food. So you're gonna see the way that I'm gonna make this salad, but basically I am cutting up my potatoes and then tossing them in an oil mixture that has like some veggie stock powder and some herbs and spices in it as well. Life hack, always mix the oil with the spices first. It gets everything really nice and evenly coated. Then I put this onto a baking tray and then put it in the oven to roast for like 40 to 50 minutes until they get really nice and crispy. Whilst this was happening, I decided to make a salad, so I put a bunch of fresh greens as well as cherry tomatoes and some sprouts, some blurry sprouts it seems, and then a creamy dressing that I had made, and I just tossed this all together for this really nice fresh base for a salad. I then put on my roasted potatoes, and this is like a really yummy lunch that made me feel really good. And what I like about this is that it has that heartiness of the potatoes but still the freshness of the salad. Now, I totally forgot to film my dinner on Thursday night, but on Friday morning I went out to a cafe with my boyfriend for a really delicious breakfast. We got some fresh juice. I also got an iced cacao, of course. He got some avocado and mushrooms on toast, and then I got this delicious avo, tomato, basil situation with balsamic on toast, which was divine. Loved it so much. For lunch, I had a picnic with my friends, which again, I feel like sort of ties into seasonal eating in the summer as well. There's a lot of social eating, which I really enjoy, and so many of my friends bought amazing vegan food for us all to snack on. And we also just had a beautiful time by this watering hole, which was very wholesome. And then when it came to dinner, I started with a block of tofu. I think I used like half of this block, and I cut it into small cubes, and I was really craving just making something pretty simple. So I put some tofu as well as some green beans, which, as I mentioned, green beans are very in season right now, and I'm really enjoying eating them a lot more since I realized that they are in season. And then I fried these up for a little bit in some oil, and then added in some store-bought black bean sauce, which was vegan. This was super simple because I just fried it all up for probably like 20 minutes in total, adding the sauce after about like 10 to 15 minutes, and then I just served it with some rice as a really simple dinner. And yeah, that brings us to the end of what I was eating this week seasonally. I really hope you enjoyed today's video and learned something from it. I will look forward to seeing you in my next video. Thank you so much for being here.